feast. They did not come to hear Hare Krishna. They came for love feast. From very beginning, when I was in 26 Second Avenue, every Sunday I was giving nice food stuff, at least 200 men. Daily at least more than 15, 20, I was cooking myself. That is the beginning of my movement. The chapatis with the Kirtanananda, first of all he was taking 1 or 2, then 12. There was another boy, devotee, Tradisha, Prabhupada, yes, Tradisha, 22 chapatis. Tradisha, can I give you? Yes. I gave him 4. Finished. Tradisha, can I give you? Yes. Very nice boy. He was eating 22. One day there was no money, so he immediately went and came after some time with some money. And where did you go? He went to shoe booth. He polished shoes and brought some money. In this way, this was developed. Give them prasadam, nice prasadam. Any gentleman comes, immediately there must be some prasadam. Engage first class cook, spend money, don't be a miserly. If you have no money, I will pay. So long I am living, I shall go on paying. You don't be miserly. Bring devotees for eating and then chanting, then cinema, then lecture. In this way, you have to develop. Not that people will come, Hare Krishna mantra is there, let us go there. They will not come. What do they know about Hare Krishna? They will come, oh, there is nice, good prasadam distributed. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudhiraye Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21 and Text 33. Maitreya Uvacha Evam Tam Anubhashyatha Evam Tam Anubhashyatha Bhagavan Pratyak Akshajaha Bhagavan Pratyak Akshataha Jagama Bindu-sarasaha Jagama Bindu-sarasaha Sarasvatya Parishtita Sarasvatya Parishtitrat Maitreya Uvacha Evam Tam Anubhashyatha Bhagavan Pratyagakshajaha Jagama Bindu-sarasaha Sarasvatya Parishrita. Maitreya uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Evam, thus, tam, to him, anubhashya, having spoken, atha, then, Bhagavan, the Lord, pratyak, directly, aksha, by senses, jaha, who is perceived, jagama, went away, Bindu-sarasaha, from lake Bindu-sarovara, Sarasvatya, by the river Sarasvatī, parishrita, encircled. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Maitreya went on, thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu-sarovara, which was encircled by the river Sarasvatī. Please repeat. Maitreya went on, thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu-sarovara, which was encircled by the river Sarasvatī. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One word in this verse is very significant. The Lord is stated here to be Pratyak Akshaja. He is imperceptible to material senses, but still he can be seen. This appears to be contradictory. We have material senses, but how can we see the Supreme Lord? He is called Adokshaja, which means that he cannot be seen by material senses. Akshaja means knowledge perceived by material senses. Because the Lord is not an object that can be understood by speculation with our material senses, he is also called Ajita. He will conquer, but no one can conquer him. What does it mean, then, that still he can be seen? It is explained that no one can hear the transcendental name of Krishna, no one can understand his transcendental form, and no one can assimilate his transcendental pastimes. It is not possible. Then how is it possible that he can be seen and understood? When one is trained in devotional service and renders service unto him, gradually one's senses are purified of material contamination. When one's senses are thus purified, then one can see, one can understand, one can hear, and so on. The purification of the material senses and perception of the transcendental form, name, and quality of Krishna are combined together in one word, Pratyak Akshaja, which is used here. The Sanskrit Bhaktivedanta Purporto Madhyanatimirandasya Chakshurunmilitam ena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So recently there was a scientific breakthrough came from the scientists of Japan. They first time video recorded the communication between one plant to another plant, communication among the certain plant species. So they are able to visually record how the plants communicate when there is a danger. So they have kept a few plants and then they have put some sensors, some lights, green color light and some sensors. And then they put one little caterpillar to one of the plants, tomato and mustard seeds. So as soon as the caterpillar started eating the leaves, immediately there is a communication to the plant next, and that plant has responded by releasing some certain compounds into the air, and all this, and then also it started glowing green. All these communications, the danger signals, and when there was a danger, how the plants are responding. If the plant is in danger, then this plant is taking some steps to protect itself. There is a defense mechanisms which came into force, and all this they are able to show visually, and then they have recorded. And then of course it became a little bigger news. Scientists know that there is some communication goes on between the plants, but this is the first time they are able to show visually. That means by our gross eyes we can see that there is something going, some communication is going on. So this process is called akshaja, the knowledge that is gained by the eyes or the gross senses. So our most of the scientific knowledge is gained by this kind of akshaja knowledge, the knowledge that is possible through the senses, the perception of the senses. This is called akshaja. But here Krishna is known as adhokshaja. That means adaha means it minimizes, or it is not possible for the akshaja to know adhokshaja. Sanskrit is very interesting. That means the knowledge which is perceived by material senses cannot understand, cannot see, cannot appreciate Krishna, because the Supreme Lord is known as adhokshaja. He cannot be captured by our material senses. That is his decision. Krishna's decision is he doesn't want to be conquered by the material senses. That's why he is known as Ajita. He is unconquerable by any material endeavors or senses. He cannot be conquered. So the most bewildering thing is when Krishna appears in this world and apparently looks like an ordinary human being, that confuses everybody. Even the most stalwart people are bewildered by seeing Krishna or Ramachandra walking amongst them, and then the Shastras and the great Acharyas are saying he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are not able to understand. How is it that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because he looks like me, exactly like me. Maybe he is a little more, he is looking more beautiful and more powerful and all that, but then he is looking like an ordinary human being. So people who go by great confidence on their personal observation, they cannot understand God. The scientists and all these people are so confident about their methodology for learning, methodology for knowledge. So fortunately, there is a different method to understand knowledge. But unfortunately, the current scientific knowledge is completely based on what is directly perceivable. This is what this is the limitation. For example, the plants have life, they communicate, they have a defense mechanism. This is known to Vedic culture for millions of years. See, for example, we are all in this tradition. We know that plants have life and then they communicate. Ahara nidra bhayamaidunam cha samanyam etat pashubhinaranam. These 4 activities are common in the animals, in the plants, and in the human beings. In the plants also there is a defense. Human being also defends. If there is some problem in your neighborhood, obviously you will also start taking some defensive measures. Same phenomena we observe in the plants. It's all known. But because the scientists are depending on something that can be seen grossly, and then also if you can video record it and make it into a YouTube viral, then that's probably is the mechanism to understand the knowledge. But actually, knowledge is not limited by our current scientific methods. Reality is already existing. Plants have been talking for millions of years. From the beginning of creation, they are talking. Just now somebody woke up and then he did some video recording and then that becomes a big news. This is the problem. The scientists are no more interested in understanding the reality. They are only just interested in creating some technologies and exploit this nature. They have become a very low category of, they have come down to a very low category of existence. This is the unfortunate scenario. But a real scientist means he should be interested in knowing the truth. And if the truth is not available through his current method, he has a certain method of directly seeing something. If it is not available through that, a real scientist should be keen to understand other sources of knowledge. Only observations and some kind of a logical theories and conclusions and concepts, this is how the scientific world is caught up with. But they are not interested in anything other than this. But here the Shastra is pointing out that all knowledge is not akshaja, but there is a knowledge called adokshaja. Then what will you do with that kind of a knowledge? For example, the Supreme Lord, His presence, His name, His form, all His activities, they are all adokshaja. Cannot be perceived by, measured by the material senses. You cannot measure it. For example, if you see Krishna, he looks like a cowherd boy, bluish boy, taking care of some cows, every day going into the forest for grazing along with his friends. And if you see, he's playing with his friends and he's also getting defeated, and friends he has to carry Sridham on his shoulders, and he has to carry him a certain distance. How will you understand that he is God? He is looking like a small a cowherd boy. So that's why Krishna is known as Adokshaja. He makes our perception capacities adaha, useless or minimal. So such knowledge has to be received from in a different method called descending process. Unless a human being takes up humility, and then with that humble attitude he approaches the reality to understand the truth, then there is a chance that he will get access to a higher aspects of knowledge. Very surprisingly, modern scientists, many of them, they don't even recognize that there is a mind. Of course, nowadays they are coming up with some mind and psychology and some kind of some departments are evolving, but the core people are not yet, they believe that there is a mind. Actually, it's a common sense. Everybody knows that there is mind. There's something harassing in the. They'll show like this mind is, everybody knows. Everybody knows that there is intelligence, varied intelligence. People are, so scientists are not even want to understand varieties of matter. They're only bothered about what can be measured with the gross senses. This is the problem. They're not even bothered to understand other varieties of matter. For example, mind is matter, but they are not interested. And then above the mind, there is intelligence. That's also matter. Intelligence is also matter, a subtle matter. And then that also they don't accept. Then above the intelligence, there is one more subtle matter is there, that's called ego. They know there is ego in everybody. Scientists themselves, they fight ego issues, but they don't believe. Very stubborn some scientists are. They don't want to budge an inch. Yes, my philosophy is correct. And then that philosophy should be named after him. See, so much ego. They're seeing, but they don't want to accept that there is an ego element. There is a matter. Stubbornness means past sin. If there is a sinful karma, that time people will become very stubborn. Although they see the reality, they don't want to change. So this, unfortunately, we see some of the scientists are like that. So Prabhupada is, so that means various varieties of matter only they are not able to discriminate. And then above ego, there is a consciousness, there is a soul, no idea. Scientists have no idea that there is something called soul. A bhakta in our movement is a bigger scientist because he knows soul. Of course, it takes time to realize, but at least they know theoretically there is soul. And then above the soul is the super soul. Now imagine, they have to, if their research has to reach that level, then what will happen? Recently there is one interesting article. They have analyzed the COVID patients and the patients who died and all that. And then they have published one article saying that the risk of COVID is very high, almost 38 or 40% high in non-vegetarians in comparison to vegetarians. That means COVID will come more if somebody is a non-vegetarian, and the death rate is also high. But then this is after COVID. That means if by the next COVID, if somebody wants to change, they have some chance. Otherwise, so this research is like that. This meat eating is not good. This is known in this parampara for millions of years. But no, they want to prove. How they have proved? After a big pandemic, millions of people died. Now they are doing analysis. Who is survived, who is there, who is not there. and they're coming up with some theories. And these theories will not be accepted by one more scientist. Everybody has their own theory, and they will fight with each other. So this is the problem. So when the Lord's existing is pratyag akshajaha, he is adokshaja, and he cannot be perceived by the gross senses like that. So then how is it that the devotee is able to perceive? Now Kardama Muni is seeing the Lord. He is present on Garuda, on the shoulders of Garuda he is standing, and Kardama Muni is seeing him, and then he is offering his prayers. And now in this hall also their lordships are present. But then so common people will not be able to perceive. So how is it that he can be perceived then by this gross senses? Here Prabhupada has mentioned the secret. One who is trained in devotional service and renders service unto him, gradually one's senses are purified. Now this is the secret. If we want to appreciate Krishna's presence, Krishna's name, form, pastimes, then the technical word, that Sanskrit word it says is unmukha, inclined. There should be inclination, sevonmukha, inclination for seva. That's enough. Then we'll start perceiving God, Krishna, Krishna's name, Krishna's form. Sevonmukhehi jivhado. Then what is that seva? That should begin with jivha. Very interesting process we have. We are saying no mind control, all these things we are not talking. Sevonmukha. You have to be unmukha to render some service. Inclination should be there to render some service, and then it should start by engaging the tongue. So nice. That's why Prabhupada is talking about prasadam distribution. Who will say no if you give some prasadam? And then as soon as he accepts some prasadam, sevonmukha, the inclination has begun. The service to Krishna has begun. Whether he realizes or not realizes, that's a different issue. It's called Isha Sangha, the Supreme Lord's Sangha, association. Just by honoring prasad, by eating prasad, one comes in touch with the Lord, and then his unmukha began. Now his inclination for service to Krishna has begun, and then he starts appreciating. And then using the tongue, if somebody can start chanting 9 times, 10 times, 108 times, 16 times, whatever, he can start chanting. Within no time he feels like giving up those habits. For example, we have come across one donor, just told him to chant some 9 times, he is doing some 9 times, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And after some time he is saying, Swamiji, I am not feeling like eating meat. And he gave up. Till then, if you go and ask him, give up this meat, there is a article like this, COVID, vegetarians better, all those things, he'll say, nobody will listen to these theories. Even if he knows that there is something, something fishy in eating meat, then still he cannot take any steps to come out of it. See? So many articles have been published, but nobody is able to change it. Big scientists have proved that in this world, the climate change is there, the whole environment is going for a 6 because of meat eating. This big meat industry, this is the primary cause for a lot of destruction in this world. Yes, these articles are there. Hundreds of articles are there. Now who is bothered? Where is the change in the people? And somebody chanted 9 times, not even one round also. Just 9 times and few days, immediately saying, and nobody told him that you have to give up this, and immediately is giving up. Now can you see? This is called Adokshada. Lord's holy name is Adokshada. You cannot perceive. You bring all the meters and instruments and then trying to understand what this Harina. You insert, some wires here, put in the brain, and actually in 1970s, I think, some people were doing that. They used to take the devotees away and then they used to put all these wires and all those things and then try to measure what's happening when he's chanting. But then Lord's chanting the holy name, it is not you cannot capture it by your instruments, either your own instruments or extended instruments, mechanical instruments, you cannot capture. So this is adokshaja process. So that's why one has to look into other methods of knowledge. One should give up his obstinate tendency and accept that there is a much better process for learning this knowledge. So then only he becomes opened up for such a knowledge. So very nice thing here, one has to get trained up in rendering service to Krishna. So this should be the goal of the devotees. We should try to engage people in chanting, honoring prasad, in dancing, in rendering some service. Preaching means, the end result of preaching means he should do some service. That is called preaching. After you give association, your association result should be that he should do some service. He should be inclined to do some service to Krishna. That is called real preaching. That service can be as simple as just eating our kaja prasad. That's also okay. Of course, in India or anywhere else, if you give some food, nobody will say no. So that's the easiest way of preaching. Just give 1 or 2 kaja prasad, then immediately. See? Actually, our preachers, when they go, the first thing that they do is to give 2 pieces of kaja. And they'll say, immediately you eat. A service inclination will begin. As soon as somebody eats kaja, his service has begun. Already some changes will be there. So he is more receptible to receiving our message, more receptible to understanding Krishna and then various other aspects. So this is a very important thing. The purification can happen only by sevonmukhehi jivhado. Then swayameva sprutyadaha. Then the transcendental knowledge will be revealed by Krishna. As I said, this 9 times somebody is chanting. Nobody has told him that, you please give up this or give up that. But he himself got that inspiration. See, swayameva. On its Lord himself will reveal. Spurati ada. So that is the beauty of this process. As soon as somebody becomes service inclined, Lord gets involved, and then that devotee advances. Mysteriously, he advances. But it requires expert guidance of a devotee under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. The purification will be faster. Any questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
శ్రీకృష్ణుణ్ణి చేరుకోవడానికి కృష్ణ భక్తిని అందరికీ అందించటానికి బృందావనం వైపు ఉరకలేస్తున్న యమునోత్రి. విష్ణుపాదమే తన పుట్టినిల్లుగా కైలాసం చేరుకోవడానికి పరుగులు తీస్తున్న గంగోత్రి. కురుక్షేత్ర ఘోర హత్యా పాపం శంకరుణ్ణి శాంతపరచడం లక్ష్యంగా పాండవులు నిర్మించిన కేదార్నాథ్. సమస్త సాధు పుంగవులకు, ఋషులకు, ఆధ్యాత్మిక సాధనకు స్ఫూర్తినిచ్చే నరనారాయణులను నడయాడిన ప్రదేశం బద్రీనాథ్.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణవాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణవాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133